Welcome. I'm Dr. Lisa Toppin, and you are listening to Blazing Your Path. Today, my guest is a return visitor. You've met her before. Janita Castro, one of my early guests, is back, and I think she's continuing to blaze her path. So we got to talk more about her story, and you're going to love what she has to share this afternoon. Janita, welcome.
Thanks, Lisa. I'm so happy to be here for part two.
For part two, this is a true blazing your path because you're continuing to do stuff. We got to continue the conversation.
Absolutely.
But let's start with, though, for those who didn't catch volume one, and you can go back and catch that. It's on my website. But let's talk about your business. What inspired you to start a business in the first place?
Well, Lisa, I was working in corporate communications and finance, and I was also doing a little bit of side work, as some of us do sometimes, to make that little bit of extra money. And I was working on a nonprofit's website. And I had full reign to just go and do. The executive director said, just take it and fix it for me, please, whatever you think needs to be done. And at the same time, I was working in my corporate communications job, working on a tiny section of that website to get it redone. I was a year in and could not get it launched. Through all the just through all the channels and all the approvals and things changing in the same amount of time, I relaunched an entire website for a nonprofit. And I just found a lot of joy and excitement in that. And then I took Strength Finders, thanks to you, and found out that I have this very adaptive is one of my strengths, which means I like to move fast. I'm not a process person. And just a light bulb went out that while I was good at my job in corporate communications, it was not where I was really meant to be because it was too hard to move in that space quickly. And I like to move fast and get things done. So I decided just to go out on my own and just give it a shot. I also wanted some more time to travel and be with my children that were my younger children at the time that were just a few years old.
Yeah. No, I remember when you made the decision and you were like, I'm doing it, I'm going, and I'm like, okay, today. So you were adapting fast,
Yes.
From that perspective. And I love the certainty you had about it. You were very clear about your intention, about what you believed you were going to do and how it was going to work, and just your values were right up front. The idea that you wanted to spend time within your little ones who are not so little anymore.
Right.
But I got that, and I appreciated that, and I think that's that's such an important part of the story, because I think that continues to thread through your ongoing values about spending time with people that you love and wanting to be completely present. And I know you've taken a lot of trips and all of that, but let's keep going. So you launched your company, Humanity Communications Collective.
Yes.
And so tell us a little bit about what you do. What's the core product and or business there?
Absolutely. So, I launched it because I knew there were so many more stories that needed to be told, especially stories from diverse backgrounds and communities and diverse people that just weren't getting out there in a way that was powerful and consistent. And so what Humanity Communications Collective does is work with social impact organizations, many of them nonprofits, to make sure their stories are told cohesively and consistently across all their platforms, whether it be their own platforms, like their social media channels, their website, their newsletter, their events in person, and of course online for the past few years, and as well as externally in the media through our public relations and advocacy department. And so our goal is to make sure that we are telling stories that drive action for the audience to do something, to invest in the organization, to donate money, or to share the stories that are being told.
Yeah, no, that's so powerful. And nonprofits, I mean, just as you're describing it, I'm appreciating again how needed that is, because so much of what they do is dependent upon those who are hearing the stories taking action. I remember going to events, breakfasts and lunches and all kinds of events that says, here's the story, here's the impact we're having. Now open that checkbook and let's get it going. So
Yeah.
I appreciate what you're saying. That piece of it is so vital to a nonprofit success. So you've been doing this. How long have you been in business now?
So it's been, I think I'm going into this is the 6th year of after I left, I left my full-time corporate job. And so it's been really exciting. And yeah, the thing about storytelling is that there's so many ways to tell stories, and there's so many people garnering, looking for attention.
Yeah.
And how you break through all that noise and make sure the stories are being told, because most social impact organizations are focused on program, which
Right.
is very important, right? They have to deliver the services to their community, but we have to tell the stories of them doing that. It's one of the things that always falls to the back burner, especially during COVID.
Right. Right. And nonprofits don't have the luxury of having large staffs of people to do all of these things. So I can see just why your partnership would be so vital. And because you have to get that piece right, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you've got the luxury of having a staff to do it necessarily. So now you, with 6 years in the business, are hitting some important milestones. So as Joan Rivers used to say, I'm doing a big reach back when I say
Yes,
Joan
we're going
Rivers.
back.
Like, can we talk? Like this is amazing, and I just again, it's so important to appreciate 6 years, and so here we are. So I'm asking you maybe to share a little bit about the milestones you're hitting and what they mean to you.
Sure, absolutely. So the biggest one that we hit recently is hitting $1 million in revenue, which is a milestone that I've had in my head for a while, because there are so few women-owned businesses. Actually, only 4.2% of women-owned businesses are running $1 million in revenue.
Wow.
And so to reach that milestone and to share that, I hope inspires others that it can be done, and it is something that is attainable. The other thing is when we look at women of color, Latino women businesses only make about $50,000 in revenue a year on average. So Humanity Communications Collective is 20 times more than that. And so what that allows us to do is allows us to hire well. It allows us to pay well. It allows us to expand benefits. And it allows us to treat our people in the way they deserve to be treated. When we're looking at what we all know as a great resignation, I really see it as a great realignment, right? People want jobs that pay them well and that treat them well, right? And they're not putting up with anything less, and nor should they.
Right.
And so when we post jobs, we're getting sometimes 300 applicants for a position, which really allows us to hire the best people possible.
Yeah, that is amazing. Now I'm going to tell you because I follow you, so I've seen some posts out there with you and your staff, and it looks like you're doing some amazing things, like things that make me wish I was a communicator. But to your point, sort of really being able to hire well and do well. So tell us a little bit about sort of your philosophy around that and the kinds of things that you have been offering to your staff. The pictures that I'm alluding to, the pictures that have been making me jealous. So
I got
you know what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying. What's your philosophy? What kinds of things are you doing, and what's under that?
Yeah. Well, I worked at Chipotle many, many, many years ago when it was a smaller restaurant chain. And the founder of Chipotle used to always say, if I treat my employees well, they will treat the customers well, and the money follows. That's what he would say. And I always remember that, and I took that. And I tell my team, what I learned most from bosses I've had is usually how not to be treated and how I didn't want to treat other people. We're a fully remote team. So I have people not only across the country, but across the globe.
Mm.
So we don't see each other very often, especially in the beginning. And relationships and the work that we're doing is really important. We work on client teams and account teams, so people are working across channels or working across clients. But I really think it was important for people to get to know each other in person. We just do better when we're working with people we like and
Yeah.
that we know and that we can connect with.
Yeah.
And so when my family and I were on vacation last year, I was hiking and I saw this beautiful just beach and this resort, and I was like, I have to figure out what this place is. And I get down there, and it's just this beautiful beach resort with apartments, and it's not kind of its own little city. And I said, I'm taking the company here on a retreat.
Mm.
And that was in June of last year, and we went the last January, and we went to a retreat in Costa Rica for 4 days. Many of the folks meeting each other for the first time, pure luxury. My team works really, really hard. I don't have the overhead of an office to have to deal with. And so I wanted to do something special for them. Now, my partner says I raised the bar pretty high for the first retreat, so I have to come through again this year.
Yeah.
But it was when we got back, I could see the difference in
Mm.
how everybody worked together, how they interacted with one another, and just even more fun we would have, even being a remote team.
Right. Right. I can totally see that, because there's the joke that we're making as we're walking to dinner that we still have when we get back and we're doing work, right? That we
Right.
wouldn't have if we only had a Zoom experience. So that totally makes great sense. And audience, I can just tell you from the pictures, it did make me wish that I had a different skill set. But we're going to let that one go.
Yeah. Well, I guess I really think it does help the hiring pool quite a bit.
It does.
Quite a
It
bit.
has to. It has to. But it was just. I thought it was an important. It was an important post, an important statement around how even a smaller employer can look at how they treat people and the investment that they're making. I think that's the way you even talked about at the time, was that you were making an investment in this great team, and so that was seen and felt. And it looked like something that was spectacular and amazing. So,
Yeah. And it really was. And if I could expand even just a little bit on it, well, we called it a retreat. We did have one day of kind of visioning for the next year and people becoming really invested in their role at Humanity. It was interesting. The language that changed afterwards, like what we're going to do together, not what the company's going to do, what Janita is going to do, how people would say, oh, this is what we're going to achieve next year. Right. So they were very much invested in that. But it really also was almost like a reward.
Yes.
Right. For all the hard work, for the extra hours, for, just giving it your all, trying your best, all of those things as well. And so we had kind of one half day or, 3/4 of a day of this visioning. And the rest of the days were really for fun and connection and joy, which really came through.
Oh, that's so good. That's really good. And not different than what large companies do. I mean, you're taking a page out of, some of the larger companies and the way they treat their sales teams, and they thank them and acknowledge the hard work and the difference that they've made. So that, just is really, really special what you have created and what you're doing. And I think just important to highlight how fast you got there and how big it is, especially relative to what most companies like yours are, the size of yours are experiencing. So I think that's important. Okay. So you are a minority-led, women-owned business. And the question that I think remains, because there's been a fair amount of attention around this, as you know, is kind of when you think about the challenges that are faced, when people talk about that, they talk about it sort of in a removed way at a high level, and we don't really get to go inside of what those challenges are. So can you take us inside? Like what is it really?
Yeah, well, absolutely. Well, I will say that the biggest challenges I faced was capital. Is and getting money to do the work. I'm completely self-funded. There's no investors. There's none of that. Not because I didn't try.
Yeah.
Right. But also I couldn't get a loan. Lisa, I still can't get a line of credit. Can you believe that? I
I
still
cannot believe that.
cannot get a line of credit. Not for bragging rights, but just to be clear, I own 2 homes. I have good credit. I have revolving income that is guaranteed through annual or multi-annual contracts with my clients. And I cannot get a line of credit. I can't get a loan for less than 30% interest right now.
Can
This
you
is
imagine
a massive issue, right?
that? I I'm speechless.
Yeah.
I cannot believe that.
Yeah,
I
it
cannot
is.
believe that.
It's crazy. And I'm sure there are things that I don't know that I can do better, right? As I was, but also I'm running a business, right? So to go to bank after bank after bank and fill out form after form after form, I also don't have the time to do that because I have to run my business.
Right.
Right. And so I think that's a huge issue and something that, I hope to work on with some foundations and some organizations. There are a lot of organizations doing really, really great work in funding women-led businesses and businesses led by women of color. But I also find that service-based businesses like ours aren't really sexy.
Mm-hmm.
Right. People like
Mm-hmm.
products.
They want products. Yep.
They like to support business with products, right? We're not I'm just not a product based
Right.
business.
Right.
And so that also comes hard to find. Also, at the $1 million revenue mark, I also
Yep.
make too much money for some of these grants and things like that.
Right.
Right. So I do wish I would have looked at some grants when I was smaller.
Yep.
Hello Alice is a great resource for grants. They fund all different ones. They kind of funnel different grants through their platform. If you run a food business or perhaps you run, you have a business in Massachusetts, they have all different ones that funnel through. So I wish that I would have done that a little bit more, a little bit earlier. But I would say that has been the biggest challenge.
That's a huge challenge. And I think it's important to just really say out loud what your credentials are. And the fact that you're still having difficulty getting a loan, that makes it real and brings it home in a way I don't think people would have considered. I still can't believe that with the assets you have and the revenue that you're generating, that you still can't get a loan. That is, I'm again blown away. So
Yeah, and it's so interesting because it's with a service-based business, right? I can't hire before I have the business, right? Because I have to hire smart, right? So when I'm going out there, having discovery calls and looking to sign new contracts, I then have to hire fast,
right,
in order to cover the work,
yep.
right? But I can't cover
you can't precede it. You've got to.
I can't, right. So that makes it a little more difficult. I've been lucky because I'm able to borrow from my own personal savings and pay that back and things of that nature. But that shouldn't be the way. And also, it's a privilege that I have retirement that I can tap into.
Right.
Most people may not have those options. And so,
yeah,
it's something I really am passionate about and trying to help others trying to get through that barrier.
Yeah. Well, you've been on the forefront on what you're doing, and so no doubt you're going to continue to be, particularly as we work to solve this problem, because this is a big one, and will make the significant difference that you are not 1 in 4%. Like that's
Right.
key. Okay, and so the question that I was going to ask you, and I don't know if you have thoughts about how to do this. So you've given us like the crux of the main pain point and the problem. Is there a way in which we can ally those of us who are interested in supporting businesses like yours? How do we ally?
I think there's a couple ways, right? A referral, I would say, is the best compliment. If anybody is looking for the type of work that we do with the organizations that we work with, we would ask that you just throw our name in the hat. And we're seeing that happen more and more often. It's been wonderful to see in the past 6 to 9 months how the people who are reaching out to me are further removed from me, right? In the circle that I have. So that's really great to see. It means that our name is getting out there in a really positive and reputable way. Yes. So that's exciting to see. To say our name when we're not in the room.
Right.
right? When we're talking to either, when we're talking to funders or investors or, other folks that do the work that we do. And also important to talk about funding for-profit companies and not just nonprofit companies.
Right.
Foundations are fantastic are funding nonprofits,
Right.
right? And funding them to cure ills of the world. And those things are all very important. But my organization is a for-profit, but we support those nonprofits,
Right.
right? And the better I do, the more jobs I can also create for people that look like me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And that's really important as well.
It is really important. Wow. Okay, so what's on the horizon? So we've hit a big milestone, and in just 6 years, and I know you haven't stopped running. So they're next on the horizon. What do you have in the future? What are you looking at next?
At our retreat last year, our operations manager said that we'd be a $30 million company. And I almost choked. I was like, whoa, that's a lot. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of people, because that's just a lot of people. Right. I am grateful for her vision and her thought there, because while that seems a little far off, $1 million seemed far off too. Right. And the team that we have seemed far off when I first started. So what I'd like to be able to do is have the ability to sit in my CEO seat a little more securely. Which means, it can't be in the client work all the time and also doing the CEO stuff of humanity. And so that's coming. I can see the light at the end of the tunnel.
Okay.
Which is nice. So we're continuing to hire more people, and that can allow me to sit in this seat to keep growing, to keep growing the business.
Right.
I think there are a lot of wonderful nonprofits out there that could use, or social impact organizations that could use our support and help. So I'm hoping that we just continue to grow in this way and grow smart. I'm really intentional about growing the right way and not too fast. There are moments where we hired maybe too fast, and we had to get over that hump, and we were able to do that. But the future looks like scaling what we have. Right. We're really clear on our mission. We're really clear on who we want to work with, which is a blessing, right? I say no to a lot of folks because it's just not what I'm passionate about, what the team is passionate about. So just continue to scale at the way that we are and the people that we service.
Yeah, no, that's so smart and so hard sometimes for people to get to, because when you're a growing business, it's hard sometimes to say no to money or to say no to new revenue. But if it's not in the way in which you've defined your work, it's a distraction, and it's not going to be helpful for the overall growth. And so just smart that you see that and that you've been doing that. And I'm sure that's been, there've been moments when that's been hard to do. So kudos to you for just having that clarity around who you are and what you're trying to accomplish. So you're blazing your path. I guess my question is, what have you learned that you would like others to know? Like somebody else who's thinking about maybe starting a business and launching and building the way that you have. Are there some other insights that you've got that you would share with that next entrepreneur who's coming?
Yeah, absolutely. A bunch. And they're in all different categories, but I think they're all important. One is, one that I think a lot of people share is just staying true to your values of who you are and what you believe in. Our work with social justice and social impact orgs is something that I've always worked on, whether it's personally or professionally, and it draws a type of team that I want. It also draws other clients that we want to work with. And so whatever those values are is to really kind of stick with them. And my values ended up being the company values. And two that we have that we've adopted is be kind and be bleeping good. Those are the two things I've always told anybody from the beginning. How do you get new business? Be kind and be really good at what you do.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's really important to me. Investing in infrastructure way in the beginning. Infrastructure, again, isn't sexy, right? But having good systems in place, Project management systems for the work that we do is really important. Project managers on our team are really important. Operations managers, the bones of the business is to invest in those early on.
Yeah.
We had a project management system when there was only 3 of us, when we
Okay.
could have easily handled things via text, right? Texting one another back and forth. But I put these in place because I knew the importance of them, and making sure that people knew where to go and could find all the information that they needed.
Yeah.
You know, with a team of our size that's remote, that's across the globe, having systems like this allow people to support one another. If somebody needs to be out, they can go, somebody else can hop in really easily, see where all their work is,
Yeah.
pick up where they get left off, with a whole lot of knowledge transfer. And
Yeah.
that's really, really important, the importance of infrastructure. And I would say that again, also with your finances.
Yeah.
Decide what kind of company structure you want to be. You know, LLC, S Corp, C Corp, what does that mean? What do the taxes mean for that? Make sure you pay your taxes quarterly, people. Please pay your taxes quarterly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Put
Oh
the
my.
money aside. Charge the right way. Charge the
Mhm.
right amount so
Mhm.
you can pay your people the right amount.
Right.
Charge the right amount so you can pay your taxes. Remember that whatever you charge, a third of that needs to be put away for your taxes.
Right. Right.
Right. And so remember all those things up front.
You sound so okay. Keep going, because you're gonna say
I'm so passionate because I've
yeah.
been in all those places where I'm like, oh, that's a big tax bill. I probably should have paid that quarterly. Now I've got to,
Right.
make some decisions here. Also, when you hire a team, hire right and get out of the way.
Mm.
I've been in a lot of positions where, I was hired for my expertise and then micromanaged the whole time.
Right.
Right, which doesn't feel good for me, and it couldn't have felt good for my boss, right? Because the thought of, why did I hire you if I have to micromanage you? Well, leave me alone and let me do my work.
Right.
Right. And so when you go through the right hiring process, and you make sure that that is set, and you use an HR consultant to make sure you're following all the rules, and all the laws that are applicable, when you hire, get out of the way and let the person do their job.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and then finally, be direct and honest with your team. I
Yeah.
can't tell you the amount of PTSD, what I call corporate PTSD, that
Yeah.
my team members have from coming from places that treated them poorly, that never talked to them, that saved all the bad stuff for the annual review.
Right.
Right. Instead of dealing with things in the moment
Yeah.
and having real conversations with one another. And the team still, some of the team is still, I'm have to remind them, it's okay.
Right.
You can make a mistake. Nobody's getting fired here. We're going to make
Right.
mistakes, and we're going to learn from them, and then we're going to do better next time. But
Right.
most of them don't come from that environment.
Right.
And so when you're hiring your team, treat them well, be kind, and be honest with them, and be direct.
Yeah. No. Well, listen. Most people are probably nursing some PTSD outcomes from corporate, because corporate is known to level some injuries, and often not because it intends to, but because sometimes we don't have the right skill sets as leaders to do the things that you're talking about, which is to be kind and to be honest and to help people actually develop and grow. So that's amazing.
And I really
All
see
of
that
it.
as my main job as CEO of the company, is to grow and develop people.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
As we continue to scale up, and as I continue to sit in my CEO seat, is making sure that people feel good, that they have opportunities to learn and develop, if that means going to conferences, or meeting with other folks, and attending different meetings with clients, even though maybe they're not part of the client team. It's my job to make sure that they're learning
Right.
and that they're growing, because the more that they do that, the better they're going to be for themselves, but also for humanity.
Absolutely.
So that is, when I think about your other question about the vision for the company, I do hope it's a place that we continue to grow and turn out leaders as well.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think, I've heard different CEOs sort of talk about it just the way you have, in terms of their main role being about how do they facilitate the experience of the people. And, it's real when your company is run by people and dependent upon the expertise and the excellence of the people, that really does have to be your number one priority. I love as a an HR pro from way back. I love hearing you say that, because I think that I agree with you. I think that is the number one thing you can do. So I mean, again, I remain in awe of what you've been able to accomplish and what you've done and what you're doing. I don't feel like 30 million is a stretch.
Well,
That's
thank
what
you.
yeah, I don't feel like it is. And now it's a big number, and it's a leap from where we are, but we got one, we can get five, if we get five, we can get 15. We get
Right.
15, we just gonna double it, and there we are.
There we are, easy breezy.
Right. That's it. So no, I mean, if there's a person that can do it, it's you. And you have such clarity and such vision and such just a powerful not only skill set, but intention about what you're going to contribute to the world. I have no doubt that that's where we're heading, and you are indeed blazing your path. So thank you for your volume 2 episode here. I can't wait for volume 3, because I know it's going to be yet again a tremendous story. But I thank you so much for taking time with me.
Thank you so much, Lisa. I'm so grateful for you and all your counsel over these years. And maybe we'll do volume 3 at a retreat location somewhere.
Maybe we'll do that.
Yes.
I like it. Folks, you heard it here first. Okay. We're setting intention.
That's right.
So we're all about it. But listen, just continued success is the word of the day. I just appreciate it so much. Audience, Janita Castro, Humanity Communications Collective is her organization. You've heard sort of the opportunities to support. So if there's a way in which what she does can support an organization that don't hesitate to make the recommendation. And we're just going to be we'll be standing in the wings watching as you scale and grow and continue to make strides. So thank you again.
Thank you, Lisa.
All right, take good care, audience. Dr. Lisa signing off from Blazing Your Path. Look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks for tuning in.